On this graph, you can see Nios deliveries in the green for past year, in the blue for this year, and in the gray for next year. And as you can see, in 2023, the company delivered 126,000 cars. This year, they delivered currently 170, and they're on a good way to do maybe I would say close to 220, maybe 226 if they manage to do 30,000 in December and 26,000 in November. The interesting part I've been saying over the past couple of months is that I've kind of grown a little bit frustrated with Nios management, not in terms of the actual tech, but I think they are not valuing the need of the stock price, or in more correct terms, the market capitalization, because I do believe that there is a more than substantial risk that we will see them raise capital once again, and they will do that in a market capitalization that is very low at 10 billion or so. Remember, even Xpeng is 25% higher currently. And if the reason why I don't like that, if that will essentially destroy the shareholder value. Remember, if you go back, I think if you go back until 12 or 18 months ago, so let's see it in the 5-year chart. I think this is this space here in late 2023, or let's say mid to late 2023, where the stock rallied up to around 15 US dollar. I think a lot of people here thought, oh, finally, after 2 or 3 years of downtrend, finally we'll see some reasonable, comeback, at least to maybe not to the highs, but, like Tesla did in the same time frame. But then again, no, same kind of story. We went even all the way down to 3 or so. Now we're sitting at 5. So the question is, I think the problem for market is what I've been mentioning over and over again, that everything looks good. There's no risk of bankruptcy for the up and coming 2 years, even at the current burn rate. Remember, they have around 5 billion, 5.7 billion on cash on hand, so they are not necessarily in need of, let's say, I don't see the risk of Neo needing any capital raise at the current stage. We are currently here on this column here. Let's zoom a little bit so you can see. The cash position is currently sitting at around or expected to go down another 600 or 700 million, essentially by the amount of net loss that they make from Q2 to Q3. And this is something that I'm not being happy with. Remember that they are also increasing their sales. Sometimes they increase their sales. We can see that from Q2 compared to Q1, they increased their total revenue by 75%. But sadly, the net income, or in this case net loss, decreased only by 3 or 2%. So that's been a huge issue. But if you solely focus on the vehicle deliveries, so how well is the company actually executing engineering wise, right? So I do believe that the first 2 months of January and February is gonna be slow, like relatively. If you look at currently we are sitting at around 20,000 or so. I believe that they will end the year with at least 25,000, hopefully 30,000 in December or close to that. But I think there will be a drop down to maybe mid 20s, even possibly lower than that. Let's say close to 20,000. But hopefully we'll see less of a drop down in January, February, which also includes the Chinese New Year holiday. I don't know how long that is, maybe 8 or 10 days, so it's quite substantial. So essentially you have to not have high expectations for January and February. As we go into March, I think it's going to be interesting. Remember that the CEO said that, I believe the goal was 16,000 Onvo deliveries for January of 2025 and 20,000 in March. But what I did, so in this lower number here, you can see here 12, 14 and 16,000. I said, Neo traditionally over the past 2 or 3 years has been way too optimistic. So when they say 16,000 Onvo, it could be that, finally they are on point, but let's go with 12,000, right? Let's go with 12,000, a little bit of increase to 14 and then 16 in March. Whereas their goals was, again, 16,000 already in January and 20,000 already in March. So we're a little bit, let's say 20 to 30% below their target. And you could say, okay, so if they, for example, in March of next year sell 16,000, and they've been averaging over the past half year 20,000 a month, we would be, let's say, well above 30,000, mid 30,000, 36,000. So why do I go with 30,000? Well, I think there will be some degree of cannibalization. I hope not. I would love to be proved wrong, but I think there's going to be, to some extent, a little bit of cannibalization. We might have already seen it. Remember that in this current month, in October or previous month, they delivered 20,967 cars. But the interesting part for me was that if you go to the weeks of the weekly insurance registrations, that would mean that actually they registered around 20,000 only on Nio and 4,300 on Onvo. So the actual number maybe would have been closer to 25,000 in October. But somehow we still saw 21,000. So I don't know what's going on there. It's been a lot of theories out there. Some people think there's been huge export to the Middle East because they recently started to deliver cars there as well. Other people think they under-delivered, maybe not under-delivered, they under-reported the numbers for whatever reason that could be. It's very difficult to know. But yeah, so that's my logic there. And if you do this kind of train of thought exercise, you can see that let's hope for April, May, June, another 2,000 increase, and then July, August, September, October, another 1,000 per month increase, which is probably in terms of increase monthly not huge. It's around 2.5-3% monthly increase, not a whole lot. But I think let's not get carried away. Some people think even this is carried away. Maybe a more realistic number would be actually even lower than that, maybe close to 30,000 all the way through July and August. Maybe September, get close to 35, and December ending with 40. That could be one scenario, which would make the total number of 2025 sales just below 400,000, let's say 385. But currently, I'm expecting around 400,000 cars, and that is actually that's a really interesting number. 400,000 deliveries potentially for Nio next year, right? So if you look at Tesla, when did they deliver around 400,000? Well, in 2020, they delivered around 500,000 cars. That's not long time ago, right? Feels like, fairly recent. So think about that. Like, I know I've been a little bit less positive about Nio stock. Remember, there's a difference between the stock and the, company's future. I don't for a moment doubt the company's future. I think this company is here to stay, no matter how well the stock price will do or what. But the problem for me as an investor is that I'm kind of getting sick of tired of this old, same kind of story repeating in itself. It's been, the company, let's see, it peaked in January of 2021. We're getting to 4 years of, not only sideways, actually like complete utter destruction of capital, right? Imagine like 4 years of your life you're waiting for a company to return some kind of, sure, you could say that maybe you didn't invest up top. Of course, I didn't neither. But at least for all the way down here, I have to hold my hands up and say that, always I was thinking, oh, okay, but now, the stock price has taken a 50% cut, and, the 2022 or 2023 looks bright. Sure, it did. But again, then you see the management, in my opinion, not prioritizing how much the infrastructure actually costs. And I would say that it would be much, much better if they completely stopped the expansion of the battery swap station and try to make, reduce the net loss, and then we are going in the right direction much faster once the company is completely profitable. And let's say, imagine this scenario. Imagine if they cut on the infrastructure expenditure, and if we have all of these quarters, Q4 of this year and let's say Q1 and all the way through 2025, net loss is expected to be around high 500s to, let's say, low 300s, right? But imagine what would happen if they completely, with 90 or 95% reduce the capital expenditure on the battery swap stations. Remember, all the stations they have now are not completely utilized. They are sitting essentially at 30 swaps per day. If you do a swap every 3 or 4 minutes, let's say every 4 minutes, technically you could do within, I don't know, let's say 10 swaps per hour. Is that realistic? I think it's a lot, but it's definitely possible, I would say. But heck, say 10 swaps every 2 hours, right? Which means 5 swaps per hour, which means 30 swaps per day is like what, 6 hours. So all the rest of the day, the swap station at the current, swaps per station are sitting and doing nothing essentially. Sure, maybe some grid balancing, but come on. So these stations cost a lot of money. They are by no means, maximizing the utilization. So I don't think that's the smartest way of doing this, because if they cut out the swap station cost, I promise you the margins will skyrocket. They will make, they will come break even, I would say, probably already by next year. I would say Q4, Q4 next year, Q1 2026. So essentially 1 year and maybe 15 months from now, they would make a break even. In that scenario, the market will definitely make the stock price go up. Remember, the vehicle deliveries can go up to a trillion billion if they don't make any money. And in fact, if they continue to bleed and lose money, no one will care about this. Like, this is the facts. Like, they have to show some sort of profitability. And I think the management needs to listen to the shareholders as well. If they do that, if the company, imagine in the scenario I'm talking to you, if the company, does that and you see the company become profitable, I promise you, look at the 400,000 deliveries, right? So let's take a quick exercise, 400,000 cars. So 400,000 cars times, I don't know, let's say 35,000 average sales price. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. Did I do it right? Let's do it again. 400,000 cars times 35,000. That seems more right. So 14 billion revenue for Nio next year, right? That would be on 400,000 cars. Let's throw in another 1 or 2 billion for the other sales. Let's say 16 to 17 billion. Okay, 16 to 17 billion, which means that if the stock price goes to 20 from here, that's 4x, right? Which means the market cap also 4x's from 10 to 40 billion. So if the market cap goes to 40 billion and they're selling 17, 18 billion in sales, that's a price to sales ratio of 2. That's nothing, 2.5 maybe, 2.3. That's basically nothing. So even at $20 on a price to sales ratio, this company is not expensive at all. The problem is what I'm telling you. This company the stock could, if the manager would have wanted this, they could easily make this a $25-$30 stock in 6 months. I promise you that. All they need to do is to stop this, battery swaps expansions. It's not to say that you shouldn't invest in battery swapping, but please, for the sake of everyone, why do you need to, do all this ahead of time? Just relax. You have like 2,600 or so swap station. You don't need more. So yeah, I guess my expectations for next year's delivery went into a little bit of rant on the management. Again, I like the CEO, nothing bad about it. It's just, it's a bit frustrating, to be honest, because this company has so much potential. I think the cars they are making is much higher quality than Xpeng. I have to be honest. I've seen them. It's such a great car. I would easily drive any Nio ahead of any Tesla in terms of ride quality and everything. By far, it's not even a competition. But again, look at the stock price. If you go back to this group view, so look at Tesla. Like, Tesla is back to very close to all-time high, and they haven't moved anywhere for 3 years in terms of, they've been going sideways for 3 years. But look at Nio. I mean, this is just bizarre. When will the management wake up? I think we as a shareholders also need to, maybe stop to accepting what they're doing. Like, maybe we should let them hear our voices. Maybe on Twitter, not everyone should be this uber bullish and always, thinking, oh, golden skies in next year. Again, I'm showing you here, I'm expecting them to essentially double their sales next year. How could we be more bullish than that? But again, it's a huge difference between the stock price and the company. So I think please make your voices heard in the comment section, make your voices heard on Twitter, try to engage with the legend himself, Marcel, and all the other big ones on Twitter, because I think I think we can actually do something. The management needs to understand what our point of view is as well. So please, thank you for you watched the video. Please like and subscribe, and I would love to see your comments on this matter. Should NIO start to kind of turn down the investment in the swap stations, or should they continue on this path and essentially continue bleeding? So thank you for your time, and see you in the next one.